recovery and that sort of thing.
I've heard of that too, actually.
Yeah, it's recovering from substance abuse and any other kind of addictive habits without the use of the higher power concept.
Oh,
yeah.
It's basically training yourself to make the rational decision, because that's really what it comes down to. People drink because they want to drink. They don't drink because they're addicted or use other substance. They do it because they like the way it makes them feel. And the Rational Recovery outfit, and that is their website's rational.org.
And cognitive behavior therapy, that kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's based on, what's the old thing called? Yeah, that's it, but it's actually no. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. I like to think of it as sort of a self-hypnosis, kind of. Only
this here's like the smiliest person I've met so far here, besides me.
I'm in recovery, and yeah, I went to rehab, and like I couldn't find anything like that. I specifically said that I didn't want to do 12 step, and like, you know, I got sent somewhere that did the choice
Nobody
theory.
wants to.
Yeah, and like it was like, oh, this one they do choice theory, and like yeah.
When you're walking across the country, you want to do 12 steps plus more.
At least, yeah. 12 very large steps.
Very large
thing. I got used to the higher power stuff.
That was like.
Yeah. Because I'm a Thelemite, and so I could a Thelemite. Yeah, I could adapt it to my higher power, like being like the holy guardian angel.
Scott, did you find out how they?
The basic concept is
go back home.
Permanent.
Chris probably will get us
it almost sounds too simple.
Some of the way at the last ferry.
What?
Oh, she was saying how we're gonna get home.
Yeah, I'll make sure you get home.
And then we gotta get a cab to the airport probably from there.
Yeah, that's good.
So why don't we all just sit really closely, because I haven't been provided with speakers or a projector or anything. So.
Wow, they really swagged you out. I'm not streaming this. I'm out of here.
You're gonna have to sit right there.
Okay,
yeah.
I will.
You have a built-in microphone.
Here, I'm in front of you.
I have an entire setup here. As long as I can hear them, I don't have to be.
Hi. How's everybody doing? Did anyone see a video from me yet? Raise your hand if you saw one.
I'm not sure.
Keep your hand up.
I caught half of it.
You caught half.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so let's see if we can get this one to work.
I shared
again.
the website already.
Yeah. Great, thanks. You said you shared it? Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay, so I would like people to just try to take notes in your mind. We're going to watch it one more time. It's only a few minutes long. Just tell, because I want to use it to start talking about, it's packed. The message in this particular thing is packed, but you don't know it, because it's like ninja message. So it gets like delivered in this stealth way. It sits there, like plants a seed, and then like a week later you're like, oh, and these things start like blossoming in your head. So, but we don't have time for the week, so we're just gonna do it now.
Oh, see that?
I saw that.
I'm alive. I'm a living, breathing, biological being. I'm alive. I'm alive.
I'm alive.
I am alive. We're alive.
At our best, we're full of life and
Care and compassion and
loving kindness for others in the world.
we get sick, we get better, we get hurt, and we heal. We're people. We fall in love.
We dream. We are people. We dream.
We are born.
And we die.
Corporations do none of these things.
Corporations are not alive. Corporations are not people. Before, it was one biological person, one vote.
Now, the more money you have, the louder your voice.
Now, our elections are more like auctions. And we're one nation under the influence.
If your money can't compete in this democracy, then neither can you. Of course corporations are not people. But the people who do their bidding are real human beings. They started using our power and abusing. Now they're too addicted to stop themselves from destroying the economy, the country, or the planet. Like all addictions, addiction to power can leave those suffering with grief feeling out of control. Even when they hate themselves for their slavery to their master addiction. When people around us are a threat to themselves and others, we get them the help they need.
After all the catastrophes, it's clear that they can't stop. because they're too addicted to power.
Whoever's in the government after the 2012 general election
Will finally have the chance to get off the greed.
get off greed.
Get off greed and kick the habit.
They can vote to ratify a new law of the land.
For an amendment that overrules the court and affirms once again that only human beings have constitutional rights.
It's time to get money out of politics.
And get us natural people back in control of corporations and governments instead of the other way around. It's time.
It's time to make our democracy and elections free and clear. Free and clear.
But if they can't bring themselves to do it,
And if they can't choose recovery for themselves,
if those in power are too sick with this addiction to stop themselves,
if they can't get off the sauce, we might have to end our relationship with them completely.
like the boycotts and marches of the civil rights movement,
Or the struggle for the first New Deal.
we're ready to get them out of power and into rehab. We'll be there. We'll be there. We'll be there to take responsibility.
For letting greed go this far.
I could be part of the illness.
Or I can choose the way of healing. We are people. We have beating hearts in our chests. We are alive. We strive and struggle and search for goodness in ourselves and in the world.
We'll be there to make sure
That this world will continue and that our species will continue in it. We're ready.
We're ready. If they can't ratify this cold turkey amendment, then our only hope is an intervention.
We'll do whatever it takes.
Too much is on the line.
I'll be there. I'll be
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there for the intervention.
An intervention.
An intervention. We choose a national intervention.
A national intervention. Recovery, amends, reparations.
Recovery,
Amends.
reparation. Recovery, amends, reparations.
Wow.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very good.
Thanks. Thank you.
That needs to get out there.
Well,
I
I
mean-
couldn't agree more with that.
Have you tried to get that on our community-minded television over in Spokane? Because I know they show a couple backbone ones. I've seen those on.
Help do that. Yeah, please. I think
I know they're looking for stuff to show. So
I was a regular on a program on Free Speech TV in 25 million homes and got to talk about intervention a lot. And I think they were going to possibly pick up some of our stuff, but then they had some changes, and that particular program isn't running right now, and so that'd be a great way to switch gears. Get
Yeah, that
to some other
CMTV in
local-
Spokane he's
yeah.
talking about, they do cover a lot of free speech TV stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So, initial thoughts. Just real, you know why we call it popcorning, right? Because like the popcorn effect, you like start slow, and then like there's a bulge, and then there's a few thoughts left, and it's right. Right. So let's do that. Shout out to me things that stick when you hear that. Let's hear Roya, and then Helen, and then Rick. Well, actually, you don't have to raise your hand. Just shout it out. That's the point of popcorning.
We need cultural revolution to get there.
Okay?
Similar idea. It's not just the ones that are already in power that have this greed. It's all of us who have been taught in our culture that what
okay.
success means, what employment means, what consumption means, what production means.
I like the word addiction in it. I like how it's looked at like a disease, and really, well, yeah, it is a disease, but most people in society don't look at it like that. It's redirecting the way we it's changing the way we think of things in society. And I mean, that's why it really stuck the most. I've been through many addiction classes and worked with a lot of people that have been addicts.
Uh-huh.
So I really do like the way that it actually connects the two.
Paul, intervention?
Yeah, that is the good point about this is the fact that a lot of people don't realize that it is an addiction, and I think there are people who are wealthy and do have power that are good people that actually don't realize that they are suffering from an addiction and they keep going. They can't. It's hard to stop.
Oh yeah.
You start accumulating things. It's hard to stop. I know that with books and CDs.
Right.
You know, it's on a real small level, but you know, it's a behavior, and we're all adaptable, and we all.
If only we're all addicted to books and CDs.
I feel I agree with Helen that it's not just their addiction, it's American cultural addiction, and this is their addiction. It's okay to pick the lesser of two evils.
So we define addiction to power as the issue, and we call that addiction greed. So we would assert that is also a symptom of the illness.
Yes.
Any other pops? Other things that really came through for you from that video?
Such a wide cross-section of people, old, young.
Oh, yeah.
You know, different cultures.
Yeah.
Obviously, different cultures.
Very
Stuff is a good idea. It's very American in that sense.
Mm-hmm. We had some ardent, gun-toting Tea Partiers in the video.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, you could tell. The diversity was there completely from all political spectrums.
Because this isn't something that falls along party lines or traditional stereotypes of conservative or liberal. It's about power. It's about clarity. It's about a sober democracy. We can feel solidarity with that in Egypt when they're fighting for it, in Tunisia when they're fighting for it, even in Syria when they're fighting for it, though they're fighting for it completely different ways than those other places, right? We can feel solidarity with people anywhere, which is why our political leaders tend to frame so much of their work and interventions on behalf of their interests in the rest of the world in terms of democracy, right? A sober and clear democracy resonates for a reason, right? So I'm glad you brought that up. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you can have what are some conversations you've had with people where you just felt so frustrated because you got it so clearly and it just made so much sense. The gospel just really moved your molecules, but you couldn't really get them there. Why do you think that is, Becky and then Brian?
Why it is, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. But you've had that happen. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I want to ask very deliberately is why do you think it is that sometimes that happens? Most of the time, I would say that happens.
But this morning, I had a real...
But we don't have time to tell the whole story, so let's answer the question. Like, that's what I really want to focus on. Why do we think that is that happens?
Because each of us is the sum total of our experience, and we all have different perspectives based on that experience, and we all have mental frames according to that experience. And so everybody, whatever information you get, you can only store it, or you can only put it in whatever frames it already exists.
Yeah.
Because there's such a wide variety of frames, everybody sees it, understands it differently. Yeah. A lot of people think we have a democracy in this country. We're told we do.
Yeah, well said, Rick. Well said. So, let me go over some real facts and figures. We understand that, I'll actually just bring it up, that there's a checklist of criteria. Raise your hand if you've seen The Corporation, the documentary The Corporation. So half the room.
Wow.
We understand that there's a criteria there are criteria for diagnosing psychopaths. And what are some of the criteria? What are some of them? You saw that movie, yeah. So what are some of those elements of the criteria of diagnosing a psychopath? What's that?
Apathy.
Okay.
Out of touch with reality.
Okay.
Separated.
Psychopath as opposed to sociopath?
I don't want to take time to get into the difference, but yes, because the psychopathy in sociopathology is underlying. So let's just say yes. So here's I'm not going to show you this other video of ours. I'd love for you to watch it on your own if you want, but
Do you need a video projector?
That would be so great.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bill. So this is that would be wonderful. So we're just gonna
Let's talk about it right
reckless disregard for the welfare of others, for example, right, is one. Inability to feel guilt is another one. Lack of empathy, which I think is maybe what you meant by apathy. So
lacking the sense of reality.
Yeah. Those are different things. Yeah, those are different things. But at any rate, the dominant storyteller truly meets the criteria for psychopathy. So now, psychopathy and psychopathology are different. What's the difference? Psychopathology means, in Greek, soul suffering. This is the checklist. We'll just play it out for a minute after we go over this. But so psychopathology just means suffering of the soul, or the study of suffering of the soul, right? Like biology, the study of life, all the other ologies, the study of the suffering of the soul, psychopathology. Psychopathy is a term that we use to identify illness in the bell curve of the population of the society that separates the person suffering from the illness to such an extent that we have to identify it, diagnose it, and treat it. And how we do that is psychopathology, right? We go through the study of the soul suffering to figure that out. Psychopathy is what psychopaths have. Psychopathology, however, if we were to just somehow talk about soul suffering and identify mental illness, you would see that in Nigeria, 12% of Nigeria suffers from a mental illness by the age of 75. Thank you, sir.
Of course, it's so serious.
That's okay, brother.
So is this Mac or PC?
It's a Mac, yeah.
You have that? Okay.
12% suffer from a mental illness in Nigeria by the age of 75. Italy and Israel, around 18% suffer from a mental illness by the age of 75. Netherlands, it's around 20-some%. In Colombia, the second most mentally ill society in the world, where there's been constant civil war, bombardment, disappearances, military pressure, U.S. financial support, secret military operations, paramilitary operations, 30,000 union organizers murdered in about 35 years. Some people that Kyle and I actually knew were actually killed by accident by the revolutionary Marxist army in Colombia.
It's not right down here, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, this wasn't actually mine. It was here. But anyway, somebody told me that it was all here instead of. We could use a different computer.
Yes, I'll get a different computer.
Okay, thanks. So, thanks, Bill. So with all of that going on, they're at 38%, approaching around 42 or 43%. This is World Health Organization data. You can just go get it on your own. World Health Organization survey on mental health, right? So that's by the age of 75 in Colombia, in a place like that. The United States is approaching 55.3% by the age of 75. And we are by far the world leader in mental illness. So, we're not all psychopaths. Some of us are just clinically depressed, right? However, right, to many of us in this room. So, FML. Your 3 letters. Keeping it real, man. Thanks a lot.
What is FML?
We'll ask Kyle later what he means when he puts that in his journal. So, the psychopathology is prevalent here. Psychopathy is not. Right? But the people in charge, the dominant institution, the dominant storyteller, has been telling a story that benefits the interests of that dominant institution. And that dominant institution, the corporation, has one legal obligation. Maximization of profit. Not just profit. maximization of profit for shareholders, right? It is encouraged then to go through, to be actively a part of this checklist. Callous unconcern for the feeling of others. What does that have to do with maximization of profit, right? The feeling of others, right? If it gets in the way. I mean, if it's convenient, fine.
They exploit others to do that.
Incapacity to maintain enduring relationships. Reckless disregard for the safety of others. Deceitfulness, repeated lying, and conning others for profit. Incapacity to experience guilt. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors.
I think that's my niece.
For better or worse, Becky, that's many people's nieces. But one of the criteria for diagnosis is outside of the social norm. Another criteria for diagnosis is that the person is suffering, right? It's causing suffering. And the third is a diagnosable duration of time. So your niece may be in the clear, right? We have to wait for her to get out of the adolescence, right.
Unfortunately, her niece's name is Chase Bank.
Did Angela just get married to your niece?
Yeah. Corporate person.
I didn't know same gender. Okay.
All good here in Washington.
Yeah, it's all good here. Okay, good. No wonder that happened.
Thank you, Greg.
So, thanks for doing that, Bill. So, however, the other two, so long duration of time, do we have that for the dominant institution?
Yep.
Do we have suffering?
Yeah.
No.
Not of them, right?
How about the individuals, though, that run the corporations? Is it possible?
You would think.
You would
They
think that.
suffer?
No.
So the definition, remember, of psychopathy is soul suffering.
I have to be some.
I believe the ones who are running, I'm not talking about, CEO, but I'm talking about middle management. None of them are happy, but everybody is going along with it.
So one thing I had to cut out for today was a long list, but we're putting up, you saw on the website some things about, one of them will be the new space for our blog, where Huffington Post and Common Dreams or wherever can pick up or link to articles. One of them is a fascinating piece about the long list of suicides among those who have recently served as CEOs of their corporations.
Yes.
Okay. And what the conditions have been in their lives.
Yes.
It's completely fascinating.
Huh.
But it's a rash of suicides.
Why do I feel no sympathy?
What's that? Well, that's a different issue, and Dean and I were actually having a really good conversation about that last night. And it's not. When King was standing out there saying, "We will turn the other cheek," we have to feel for the souls and the hearts of our brethren and our brothers and sisters in the world who do harm to us because they have been damaged, and that damage came to them. And that hurt came to them, and they know not better than to pass it on until they themselves can heal. And our work on earth is to do the difficult process and difficult labor of healing. And until we can take responsibility for that, who are we to criticize those who have not yet done it also? When he said that, I'm pretty sure there are some terrorized African American families in the Jim Crow era and before, and certainly after, who still had a hard time feeling sympathy for the oppressor. My answer to that from a psych perspective is that another Greek word, trauma, comes from the Greek word trauma. Anybody know what that means? So usually the Greeks were like right there with the soul. It means soul wound. The definition of trauma is soul wound. And I think that the answer to your question is actually that to wound another, to be wounded by another, is such a penetrating, vulnerable, and intimate experience that we feel violated. And it's extraordinarily difficult to instantaneously get an idea of here and be able to forgive those who have so intimately penetrated and violated us. And yet it's one of the most intimate relationships we have, by definition, because they've wounded our soul. How much more intimate can you get than the penetration to the soul that can wound to the extent that trauma can? So you're free to not feel sympathy yet. Right? It is the great work of human beings on earth, perhaps, to go through a life that maybe, by the grace of a good universe, we can have in our final blinks in this life an understanding of what it would mean to come full circle and be able to have that kind of compassion, that kind of healing, that kind of forgiveness. And that's what we call recovery. That's what it means.
So that rash of suicides might be the sudden rising of a moral conscience that didn't appear to be there before.
Or living
or
in
something.
duality.
I think
a sudden humanity that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to intervene, because
we have to
we're ahead of
intervene.
them in that step.
So thank you. This is actually the next place to go. You're in a relationship. And in fact, let's not do that. Let's not go there yet. You know somebody who's in a relationship. And the person with whom they're in a relationship is extraordinarily abusive. That person is using them whenever they get the chance to use them for whatever they need. That person needs them to support their behaviors. Without them, they couldn't stay in the house. They couldn't get the things that they get that support them day in and day out, right? Every moment of their lives. That person also has friends who do the same thing by just sort of ignoring the behaviors, but staying in their circles. That person is extraordinarily abusive to their partner. That person beats your friend sometimes. That person steals from your friend sometimes. That person threatens the future of your friend's children. Your friend's children become increasingly stressed and scared. And your friend comes to you and says, I don't know how much more on this I can take. Or your friend comes to you and says, oh, hi, how are you? Everything's normal, everything's great. And you say, well, what's that mark on your face or your head? Or how'd you get that burn? Or why am I buying lunch? Why don't you have enough money to pay for lunch? And they say, oh, no, it's nothing. It's no big deal, right? Eventually, right, it might come out, if it wasn't the first conversation you had, eventually it might come out, look, I can't take it anymore, or look, I don't think you can take this anymore. And in that conversation, this friend of yours might say, you're right, I need to do something. But more times than not, they'll say, okay, I'm gonna have a conversation. Oh, thanks, Bill. I'm gonna have a conversation with this person. And then maybe you'll follow up a week or two later and say, how'd that conversation with your significant other go? And they'll say, oh, he promised to clean up. He promised everything's going to get better. Right? And so maybe you say, oh, great, that's great to hear. And then the next time you get together for lunch, you see signs again that things weren't as good as you'd hoped and wanted to believe they would be. After a long period of time, you start to recognize how long this has been going on and what the effect, thank you so much, Bill, what the effect on your friend is, what the effect on your friend's children has been. And you tell your friend now 15, 20, 30 times, you have to get out of this relationship. You have to get out of this relationship. It is so unhealthy. It's toxic, it's codependent, it's abusive. And your friend says, well, I'm actually afraid for my life. Or I'm actually afraid for my children's lives. But I don't know how to get out. What's your response at that point? What do you say?
What did you say to me?
Okay.
And every day she said it.
Go to Mexico?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, it's like a daily phone call.
Yeah.
It
would be hard to judge a situation because it's vague. You know, I mean, obviously we don't know. Just from that little bit of explanation, it would be hard to give somebody advice on their life, you know, without knowing.
Well, let's say it wasn't vague, but you sensed a clear and present danger. That it wasn't vague. However badly I presented it. The idea is that you do get, in this scenario, that there's a clear and present danger. Roya and Chris and Bill?
I